How's it going, troops? Jordan here, and I am back in black, baby, as we kick off the Black Ops Cold War year by starting off with the first episode of Squadron Tactics for Black Ops Cold War. So to start off as a little mini-series that I'll be doing, we're going to be looking into multiplayer, and I'm going to be helping you guys for those who aren't really too good with the multiplayer at the moment, or maybe you're struggling, or maybe you're entirely new to Call of Duty. Then I'm here to help give you some beginner tips as to how you can do better. Please keep in mind that even if you've been playing Call of Duty for a long time like I have, there's no shame in learning new tips and tricks for Black Ops Cold War multiplayer, as some of these beginner tips will apply to you as well. So without further ado, let's just kick this off. So the first thing we want to do is we want to go into our settings and we're going to turn off motion blur. Now there's two different types of motion blur in Black Ops Cold War. The first one is the world motion blur and the second one is the weapon motion blur. The world motion blur does as it says on the tin. Every time you look up, look down, turn left, turn right, the world around you will blur, and the same applies to the weapon motion blur, where if you look left, right, up or down, the world will look normal, but your weapon and character will blur a bit. Now what you want to do is you want to turn off motion blur, because it's already difficult in this game to look for enemies and try and see them, because they blend into the environment so much, and for a fast-paced arcade game like Call of Duty, motion blur just doesn't really look good, it doesn't really fit well. And so my big tip for that is to just turn off motion blur altogether. Next up, you want to adjust the ADS field of view if you are a console player. For the first time on console, I believe, I'm not too sure, I can't really remember the settings in Modern Warfare, but on console for Black Ops Cold War you can actually adjust your field of view this time. Currently my field of view setting is at 80, but I'm thinking of maybe lowering a bit just to kind of get that sweet spot. But this tip isn't on about field of view, we're on about ADS field of view. With this setting turned on, your aim down sight field of view will closely match up to your actual field of view, and this can be good if you are a PC player playing on a monitor up close. However, for console players this isn't really too good, especially if you're playing on a television. Increasing your field of view basically means you're going to be increasing your peripheral vision, and so everything in front of you is going to get smaller while everything around you is going to look a bit warped, distorted and a lot more closer. So what you want to do with this setting is just set it to independent, and that way you'll be able to see your enemies a lot better when aiming down sights. Next up, your audio presets. These are important if you're listening out for footsteps. For me, I think the best settings to go with are the tryout mix or the bass boost. I tried going in game and listening to all the different presets and settings for audio, and you can't really tell too much of a difference, but I feel like tryout mix or the bass boost really help distinguish enemy footsteps to anything else going on in the map. My next tip is to turn on the enemy health bars. Now I know that health bars are a bit controversial with the Call of Duty community, because a lot of people don't really like them, but some people do. And I think the perfect balance for at least me is to turn off your teammates' health bars, but also keep your enemy health bars turned on. This gives you a good indication as to how much damage you've dealt an enemy, and how many more shots the enemy needs to take in order for you to get the kill. Next up we're going to be talking about weapons, and for me at least I prefer to use the XM4 and the MP5. Weapon leveling in this game is quite slow, and so when you go with a weapon you really want to stick with that weapon. So my big tip is to rank up both the XM4 and the MP5, which in turn will help you unlock all the useful attachments that go with those weapons. Currently in my opinion the best weapons in this game so far are the MP5, the XM4, the M16 and the 1911. Another really good weapon is the Type 63 tactical rifle, which can be very deadly as it's a 2 to 3 shot kill over range, but you have to be very accurate with your aim if you want to do really well with it. Next tip is that stim shot is crucial to survive gunfights. Now I'm going to be honest with you guys, I'm not really a fan of the stim shot and I never really have been, but it is very necessary to use, especially when you are on a streak. Everyone in multiplayer seems to be running stim shot all the time, and that is simply because stim shot helps to regen your health a lot quicker. Next tip is that Ghost is a must-run perk to counter spy plane spam. So in the multiplayer right now, the spy plane call-ins is insane. The amount of times the spy plane's been spammed in, I mean I must have taken about 10 out at least a match, maybe even more than that. And so if the enemy have got constant spy planes up in the air, they're going to know exactly where you are on the map. And the only way to counter this as of now is to just use Ghost. Unfortunately you don't unlock Ghost straight away, but once you start leveling up a bit more, you will then unlock Ghost and make sure you use it on your class. Next tip is that the proximity mine is good for free kills. Now compare the proximity mine in Modern Warfare to this game, it's like night and day to be honest. The proximity mine in Modern Warfare was pretty crap, it didn't really do well, and the enemy could really dodge it quite well. Whereas in this game, the proximity mine is quite deadly, and even when you go prone or crouch, the proximity mine can damage you significantly or even kill you. And so if you're a noob and you like to get some free kills and free points, and even if you're not a noob and you just want to get some free kills, because who doesn't want free kills, put on the proximity mine as your field upgrade, and at least 8 to 9 times out of 10 you will get a kill from it. Next tip, choose low score streaks for extra XP. Now I know that this tip is quite obvious, but a lot of people do tend to go with the higher streaks because now with the new score streak system you can die and you can still retain that score amount, and so a lot of people are tending to go for the chopper gunner or the attack chopper or any of the other higher streaks. However, starting off in Black Ops Cold War multiplayer, you really want to start off with the lower streaks. Because the score requirement is a lot lower, it means you get to call in these streaks a lot more easier, and personally I think the best combination to go with is the spy plane and the RCXD, or the spy plane and the counter spy plane. And then for your third score streak you really want to run with the care package, as you can get a lot of the good higher streaks in them as well. Next tip is to destroy enemy field upgrades, and I cannot stress this one enough. A lot of the time when I'm playing Black Ops Cold War multiplayer, I see a lot of the enemy field upgrades all on the map, and then I see teammates run past them and they don't bother destroying it or taking it out. Instead they just run by it and then get killed, and then they wonder why they got killed. The early field upgrades you get in this game are the field mic and the proximity mine, as well as the trophy system a little bit later on. And so you really want to destroy enemy field upgrades as quickly as possible, because that could be the changing tide between your team winning and your team losing. Plus it's extra XP, and who doesn't love extra XP? Next tip is that the footsteps are loud and you want to be able to hear the enemies coming at you. This again goes paired with the audio settings of the trail, mix or the bass boost. Footsteps in this game are loud, they're not Modern Warfare loud, but they are still quite loud anyway. And it's easy to hear enemies coming from a distance away, so you can kind of prepare yourself and be ready to turn that corner. However though, that also means that your footsteps are loud to the enemy, and so you really want to be careful as to how you move around the map. Speaking of the map, my next tip is that you must use the map design to your advantage. Now granted, the multiplayer maps aren't exactly the best maps ever, but there are some cool different points and different sight lines that you can use to your advantage in order to do well against the enemy. These parts of the map could include different head glitch spots, different bits where you can kind of peek around the corner. For example, on the satellite map you can go up near the satellite and kind of peek out in between the destruction. Or on the map Moscow, there's a lot of different spots where you can kind of peek your head around the corner where the concrete blocks are. And being able to use the map to your advantage is a really good way of doing well in game. And finally, my last beginner tip is to pace yourself from cover to cover. I know that we've had a whole year of Modern Warfare and a whole year of people camping and not moving at all, and now with Black Ops Cold War, because we can move fast, everyone wants to move around and run around the map like headless chickens. And while this is okay if you don't mind running into death, but that is just it. More likely you are going to run into your own death, and then you're going to respawn, and then you're going to do exactly the same thing. So what you want to do with this game is to do what you did back in like Black Ops or Black Ops 2, even Modern Warfare 3, Modern Warfare 2. You want to pace yourself a bit more. Make sure you move from cover to cover, so that way you're not being shot at by enemies at all different angles, and then hopefully you'll start to notice you actually do pretty well. But this does not mean for you to camp. Pacing yourself, being a bit more tactical and taking a smart approach is way different to actually camping and sitting in a corner. So just remember that, take your time moving around the map, but don't be one of those pesky corner campers. So troops, those are my beginner tips for Black Ops Cold War multiplayer. If you have any other tips that you think players in game might benefit from, then let me know down in the comment section below so we can all kind of learn from each other. Hopefully by using these tips and tactics in game, you'll start to notice you're doing better than you did before. If you did enjoy this video, then give the video a thumbs up, I'd appreciate it a lot. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, then why haven't you? Hit subscribe right now and also click the bell notification icon next to it, so that way you're always notified as to when I make an upload. So until the next video, I thank you all for watching, stay true to me troops, and I'll see you in game.